Climate change is the talk of the day, but the question is, do we realize it? And do we do anything about it? All over the world, extreme weather conditions are becoming a part of daily life. And the poor nations, especially, suffer. They pay for it. Promises are made, but rarely kept. Today we have with us an eminent personality who is clearly equipped to answer all our questions, clear our doubts about climate change, its effects, and the safety mode we should adopt. Dr. M. Rajivan, former Secretary to the Government of India, the climate scientist. Welcome, sir,
Thank
to
you.
Asian News Dialogues.
Thank you.
So, as I said in the introduction, climate change is the gravest issue that we are facing today. But is anything being done about it?
That is true. Climate change is the gravest situation now, and all people are realizing that climate is changing. And so that has happened last maybe 15-20 years. The awareness has increased. And climate change is happening mainly because of our activities, human activities. For example, we have a lot of industries, we have a lot of transport sector. We burn, use coal, a lot of coal, kind of fuel, petrol, coal. That really releases greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, and global warming is happening in association with the extreme weather events are changing. So people all know that this climate change is happening, and there's a lot of grave situation is happening everywhere. Extreme events are increasing everywhere. And so we have an agreement in Paris, which was done in Paris, that we will all work together, all countries will work together, and limit the release of fossil fuel gas in the atmosphere and consumption of fossil fuel, so that the greenhouse emission will be reduced. For example, greenhouse emission of like carbon dioxide is a uniformly mixed gas. Once it is released, it will be there in the atmosphere for about 60-70 years. And so any actions will not give you an immediate solution. We have to wait. So as early as possible, we have to work on that. Now, question is, if you want to cut down all fossil fuel emissions, then it will sometimes it will affect our development. For example, India, coal is mainly used, almost 50-60% is energy consumption is through coal. If somebody says that you don't consume coal, then how we will do? We need to development also. So there is a balance between development and this fossil fuel emission. But if you really see the global emission of fossil fuels, countries like India is emitting very less. And but of course per capita emission for example is very less.
But we are in the third place.
If you really add it, multiply by the total population is very high. So if you multiply it, it will become big number. Otherwise per capita emission is very less. But per capita emission is very high in countries like US, UK, Australia, Japan, Russia and all. And they have to commit more. They have to take more action. And the climate change mitigation efforts are being made by all the countries, but the solution should come by actions by all the countries. For example, India alone, if you do something, it may not really a solution, because as I told that the carbon dioxide emitted by India will be spread through the whole globe. Similarly, America will be spread through the whole globe. So if it has to be reduced, all countries have to work. Okay, countries in Africa and all, very minute kind of fraction is being emitted. So India also has to make commitment. India has already made commitment in agreement with Paris Agreement, and they are trying our best to. For example, we are moving to solar energy, wind energy. So there is an awareness, there is a commitment, but my opinion is that's not sufficient. Things are not going well as we expected. And our expectation is by 2100, the warming should be reduced within 2 degrees.
Otherwise, it's going to increase.
Yeah, otherwise the repercussions could be much more serious. We are trying our best to make it 1.5. My personal feeling is it may not happen. But 2 degrees is possible. But provided all countries make all their best efforts to reduce it. I think that kind of efforts are not being made by countries like US, UK, advanced countries like Australia, etc.
Something was agreed on in the Glasgow summit, but later it was watered down.
Actually, there is a problem. See, they are more worried about development than, and unfortunately, what happened with the repercussion, the effects of climate change is more seen in poor countries. They emit more, but weak people, African countries, Asian countries suffer more. And so we blame them, but then they say that you reduce your emission. And so you don't eat, you don't make any development, we will do whatever we want. That kind of, so they know that things are not good, but the full commitment is not there. That's unfortunate.
And the sea level is rising. The islands like Tuvalu is sinking.
Yeah, sea level is rising everywhere. Most of the places, not all the places, most of the places sea level is rising in the whole globe. That is mainly because warming is taking place, and it's basically thermal expansion of the ocean. So, and many states in India also being affected. We really see the Indian coast about some 1,800 kilometers. 34% of Indian coast are subjected to sea level rise erosion. That means sea is coming inside, and beaches are getting removed. One good example is Pondicherry. Pondicherry, they had a beautiful beach where people go and stay. It was going slowly, it was going away, and one fine morning the whole beach was disappeared. Whole beach, Pondicherry. So mainly because of sea erosion, and also there are some activities happening somewhere, and also the frequent landfall due to tropical cyclones, etc. also may affect the sea erosion.
So
but sea level rise is really a serious effect of climate change.
And in Kerala, we are experiencing, like especially the southern India.
See, Kerala also, see many South Indian states, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, I was told that almost 35 to 40% of Kerala coast is affected by sea erosion. And it's a grave situation. And you know, it is a very small place, and most of us staying very near to the coast. We cannot go away because it's a very small place, thickly populated state, Kerala. So how people can move out from that coastal places? It's very difficult. So they have to stay there. At the same time, sea erosion is taking place. They are taking it takes their home out, and they cannot do anything. And you know, agriculture, nothing. And seawater coming inside is basically it's not good for agriculture. And so Kerala should be very concerned about sea level rise.
And we are hearing new terms like flash floods, cloud bursts. A few years back, those were like Greek.
Yes, that's true. Flash floods, the cloud burst is nothing but a very heavy precipitation coming from the clouds. So, and earlier it used to be there, but then the frequency is not there, not much. But now the frequency is increasing. The cloud, especially cloud burst. Cloud burst, as per definition, 10 centimeters or so in 1 hour or so. And so that can happen when the cloud grows very high. And because of global warming, what is the effect of global warming? When the temperature goes up, the moisture content in the atmosphere goes up. And when cloud grows, there will be a lot of cloud droplets. And when the cloud droplets grow in the cloud, because of the gravity, it comes down. That's basically rain. If more cloud droplets, then more rain will come. So that's what is happening, and it happens in a small period, small duration. Earlier we used to have 50 millimeter rain in 5 hours, but now 50 millimeter comes in 1 hour. So that's the difference. Just a burst.
That's why recently the floods in Bangalore, the heavy rains.
Exactly. So the time in which it rains is reduced. So we get huge amount of rainfall in a shorter period. So that's mainly effect of climate change and global warming. So once heavy rains happen, that water has to flow out. So then so-called the effect of flash flood happens. It has to move quickly. So within a short period, flooding will happen. This normally happens in hilly areas like Uttarakhand. Even can happen in Kerala also, and also in major cities like Bangalore, Chennai.
And are the warning systems effective in Kerala, especially in southern India, the coastal areas? Recently, the fishermen had complained because it is not. They needed localized warning systems.
Yes, that's true. See, the IMD is the main custodian for weather forecast in India, and they are the official agency. But their IMD's forecast for if you really take about 10 years back, forecast was not that up to the mark. But last 10 years, 8 to 10 years, they have improved a lot substantially. And they have acquired advanced modeling system, advanced computer, more data now, more satellite data for example. And so their forecasting system has improved. But still forecasting is a challenge, especially with issues like a small scale heavy rainfall occurring in a small place. And so fishermen, I am aware about the fishermen's concerns, because when they go, so normally IMD gives a kind of a southern parts of Kerala, but fisherman really want a particular location, he may not really wander around the whole southern Kerala.
Yes.
He'll go to a particular location. So he needs forecast for that region. So IMD is trying. I think I agree with you that they need very, very localized kind of forecast, which IMD is trying to do it. May not be highly successful, but of course we can definitely try for that.
And many changes have been happening in the Arabian Sea. Earlier it was not exactly prone to cyclones, but now cyclones are becoming
true. That's true. So observations of the last 10 years, if you see, Arabian Sea, the whole, all the oceans are warming up. So warming is not really restricted over land, restricted, now it is spread over the ocean. And Indian Ocean is unfortunately warming much more than any other ocean. And Indian Ocean, Arabian Sea is warming much better, much faster. So Arabian Sea warming is causing a more frequent tropical cyclone. Last 8-10 years, we see the frequency has substantially increased. And that can cause, of course, damages to the coast, western coast, and also it can affect the coastal area because of the sea. It can increase the sea erosion.
Again, the coastal areas being affected.
Yes, coastal areas are vulnerable, Indian coast, and most of a lot of population lives in these coastal areas, especially.
They are centered around.
Yeah, centered around. So we have to be very careful about this kind of.
So what can we do about it? Like, what will be the safety precautions since nothing much is being done to prevent climate change or to stop climate change? What can the people do?
Well, some mitigation effort has to go. So that in the beginning I told that all countries have to cut down their consumption of fossil fuel like coal or petrol. That they have to do. There's no other way. But as I said, that one country alone cannot do. India alone cannot do. It should be done by.
We have an ambition that by 2030 we are going to cut down half of our emissions.
Yes, that, and we are also moving to the alternate green energy like solar and wind. But we are doing our best, but that is not sufficient. So all countries have to do. So mitigation effort has to go. The second option we have is adaptation. Adapt to these changes. Somehow adapt this to the living.
And how can this adaptation?
Adaptation is not very easy to do it, but then we have to learn it. And adaptation for a particular community will be different from adaptation from other community, and also it depends upon the place, depending upon with whom you are with for what purpose you are adapting. So adaptation science is growing up, and there are a lot of options are coming up. And the third option is see, you cannot, for example, there are a lot of buildings, there are a lot of constructions happening in the coast. Try to avoid as much as possible. If it's absolutely required, you do it. And that you cannot do anything. If something, for example, a huge cyclone comes, it can be destroyed. So what we can maximum do is, you can do better is to save people. Saving people we can do, mainly because of forewarning. Once we have forewarnings are, as I said, the middle saying that the forewarnings are improved now a lot. The efficiency or accuracy of the forewarnings have improved thanks to good technology, science and technology. And so if we can get a good forecast, we can, for example, vacate these people, we can evacuate these people to a safer places.
But the flash floods and the cloud.
Flash floods and all is very difficult. I'll tell you, because flash flood, the lead time you may get it for 1 hour. And so it's a really challenging job. As even removing people within 1 hour is almost impossible. But in cities like Bangalore and all, see, there's a kind of radio, kind of WhatsApp messages. You can at least tell the people don't go out in the next 1 hour or 2 hours. So that kind of attempts are also being made.
And the landslides too.
Landslide is again, it's a spontaneous effect. And forewarning is possible, but very tough job. And we know that especially landslides in Kerala occurs due to heavy rains. So we know that where it is going to happen, the heavy rains, and it is already it's a landslide prone area. We have to go. So there you have at least 1 day or even few hours you may get to get people evacuated. So at least few hours. Enough, that's sufficient. So they would simply leave and go to some safer places. So landslide warning is perfect, is possible. And we can save, we cannot do anything with the buildings and all may go, but we can save the people and landslides. So tropical cyclones, as you know, that we have been doing a lot of good work and we are able to save. Now earlier days, 1999 cyclone which affected Odisha killed more than 10,000 people. Now Odisha, when cyclone comes, hardly some 4 or 5 people who die. And that also people who don't believe in forecast and who don't want to get removed from that places. So the accuracy has improved and our effective disaster management system has improved. So we should, but still, as I said, that there are a lot of challenges, flash flood and heavy rains in the small locations, and especially the coastal area, the fishermen's issues, going to a particular place and getting good forecast. There are a lot of challenging gray areas where we need to improve. And so IMD is trying their best to improve this kind of issues.
Is flood mapping being done in all the states?
People have to do it, but I understand, if I am not wrong, the flood mapping in India, Kerala was done much earlier. The whole thing must have changed now. So they have to do a flood mapping as early as possible, and also landslide mapping. So landslide mapping, we know that where are the districts, where are the places landslides are happening, but that must have changed with time. So last 5 years, for example. So we should do a good mapping of flooding as well as landslides. That is
so apart
important,
from
and that has to be kept on. For example, every 5 years we have to change it.
you have to keep on doing
Keep on doing it. It should be a dynamic.
So apart from the leadership or the countries nationwide, what can a common man do to stop?
Common man, first thing he has to do is believe the forecast. Okay, believe the forecast. Early days, I remember when I used to go to school, when people say that it's going to rain, people say that don't take umbrella, it will not rain. But that's an old joke. Things have changed a lot. As I said, that in India, at least last 10 years, things have changed. We have perfect science, and weather forecast is not 100% accurate. So some forecasts may go wrong. But if you believe the forecast, the advantage you get is much more than not believing it. So please believe. That's number one. And people they can believe, but then what they have to do? Government has to come and help. You see, people alone cannot do. For example, if I am in a very delicate situation in a heavy rain area and I want help, the government has to go and help, even if you believe. And government also have to believe this forecast and take appropriate action at the time. And disaster management is a very complicated matter. And so first of all, good forecast, then that is to be processed and that is to be understood properly. Understanding is very important, what IMD is saying or what any other forecaster is saying. Understanding, then put it into action. What kind of action we should do quickly. It should be done in a shorter period. Then implementation of the action plan. And these are all to be done very quickly. And it's a chain reaction. Anything in between, if you go wrong, the whole process is
will be
upset. There's no meaning. Then ultimately the result will be zero. So we have to be very careful. And so disaster management system has to improve in any parts of the country. I'll again quote Odisha.
Is it again perfect in many parts of the country?
Many states are now investing huge amount of money in disaster management. Saving people is important. You cannot value the life of a person, isn't it? So you have to save the people. So you need to invest a lot. Odisha is, I'll tell you again, I'm not from Odisha. I don't have any separate affection for that state, but that state has been doing great work. Even now also they are very quick in taking action and they save the people. And so Gujarat, for example, and Tamil Nadu. Kerala also, I should appreciate that last few years, especially from 2018 onwards, they have changed. And it is, for example, this year I was told that all these flood events, it's not really caused any serious problem to the people. Because they could manage these floods better, far better. Because they learned the lesson. Learning lesson is always important. So by learning, but I personally feel for a state like Kerala, still there is a lot of scope for improvement in disaster management. They have to invest a lot. And if state doesn't have any money, you can ask central government support or even foreign support from, for example, World Bank or any other agency. But investing in disaster management is a must. Especially climate change is happening. Yes. If it's 15, 20 years, it was not a serious issue, but not now.
But now, is the common man aware of this climate change? Even now, even today, plastic burning is happening a lot. Most of the homes, they burn the plastic rather than give it away or store it away and then later do something about it.
The awareness about climate change is not really good, especially in India. And so that is improving, there's no doubt, because a lot of campaigning is happening. A lot of social media is spreading the news and informing people. In school curriculum now it is being kept in climate change. They teach in schools. So awareness is increasing, but it's not sufficient. So we need to really tell the people what is the effect. For example, plastic burning, why it is not good for the country. So why you should not use more plastics, especially the single-use plastics.
Yes.
So you can use a thick plastic like bucket and all you can use. But the thin sheet plastic you should avoid. And wherever possible, don't use. And you should not burn plastic. And that is more dangerous than anything else. And so why they are doing it, I will tell you, I am not blaming any particular government or anything. We need a good, any cities or any
management system.
Solid waste management. Many places, the solid waste management is a serious problem. And we do very poorly in solid waste management. If you go to US or anything, you should
you have buckets everywhere.
Buckets, and you will not see that any kind of waste is lying there. And they manage it very extremely well.
Yes.
So we need to have a solid waste management system improving. And say for example, Surat, I was told they're really good in solid waste management. Indore, for example. And Indore is the best country for environmental issue index, for example, Indore. And so because they have a good solid waste management system. Toronto, I think it is not there.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. So I think it should happen. It should happen.
Not Trivandrum alone. Many of the places in Kerala
we should
like
have.
that.
We should have.
And recently, when COVID happened, the most common waste was the mask.
Oh, see.
You know, it just throw away the surgical mask and it will be lying here and there.
That's true. It's very bad. So solid waste management is a very important. It's a very tough job.
How can you create an awareness in the common man about this?
You can. People like you should do, for example, TV, radio, and newspaper and social media should be. And also some kind of NGOs are there in Kerala also. And recently I attended one NGO organization's function for school children. It was done in Secretariat, and ministers and all came. So such kind of awareness program should be done. And you don't need a huge money and all for this. Small functions, we can do it. And especially popular articles by people. And school, the teaching. School curriculum. It is. I was told that it is being introduced now, and so schools they should create more awareness. If you teach a school student, he or she will go and teach their parents.
She'll be the torchbearer.
So best option is to teach students.
So thank you, sir, for
thank you very much.
Sparing so much of time with Asianet News Dialogues. Thank you so much for the information too that you gave out.
Thank you very much.
Hope it helps the people.
Thank you.
Thank you.